Hello,
Hello, Shishir. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Doing good.
Thank you for this. Thank you for agreeing to speak to us. The reason that I wanted you to come here and have a conversation with us is because I believe that you have a really interesting life and career. For those of you who don't know, Mr. Dinesh Gupta is here with us, and he started his career as a civil engineer. He went to the US to pursue civil engineering, and after some time, he transitioned into computer science background. He is working as a contract based person. He takes different contracts from companies and he does work on databases and cloud, and he is running a business. Business name is ANR Consultancy Group, and they are involved in things like recruitment. They take up the responsibility of recruiting people for tech-based profiles for companies in the US, and they are also involved in Oracle-based migrations. So we'll be talking about this. I think we all can really benefit from your insights, and let's get started.
All right. Yeah. Thanks, Shishir. Thanks for the invite. I'm really honored to be here.
Uh, Great. So why don't we start with a small introduction from you?
Sure. So, by degree, I am a civil engineer. I did get my bachelor's degree back in India. Then I came here for my master's in civil engineering. I even worked as a civil engineer for a couple of years in Dallas. Yeah. But all along, even back when I was doing my bachelor's and then my master's, I was very interested in computer science, writing codes and all that. Within the area of civil engineering, I was always trying to find ways to get into computers. So eventually, I realized that maybe this is where I need to switch over to. So that's kind of how I got into computers. I've been in Dallas for a number of years, and I have my own company. We in our consulting group, we do basically two lines of business. One is recruitment. The other business side is all about project-based work, where we do Oracle, ERP, Microsoft. We are partners with Oracle. We are partners with Microsoft. So all this ERP work, database infrastructure, those are the kind of areas we work with, and that's kind of my area of expertise.
Okay, great. So I'm interested in knowing about how you transition from a civil engineering background to a computer science background. And the reason is that I'm seeing this in India as well. This is the trend. People from other engineering backgrounds are trying to move into the more in demand computer science backgrounds. So can you throw some light on that? How did you manage that?
Sure. So first thing is you need to have some really good interest and some level of aptitude towards learning the computer science. But the good thing about computer business is there are a lot of different areas where some areas require very hardcore computer science
Hmm.
knowledge. You need to have really a degree to be able to make some good success in that. But then
Hmm.
there are other
Yes.
areas where you don't necessarily need full-fledged degree. What you need is really your own interest enough that you are willing to
Hmm.
learn on your own and of course take some help from different courses. So what I did was once I realized that maybe this is where I need to switch over to, I started taking
Hmm.
few classes in Dallas, not degree classes or anything. Different institutions were offering. So some of that plus some of my own interest, just trying to find things to learn. I took
Hmm.
a lot of certification. I forced myself into getting certificates. At the time, I was very much involved with Oracle technology. So I got a lot
Okay.
of certificates in Oracle, and that kind of forced me to learn more and more. And I think that kind of helped me get into
Right.
this area. Yeah.
Right. I agree. Certifications might or might not make a difference in your recruitment, but they absolutely make a difference in your foundation, in your theory, in your concepts. So if you do certifications, you eventually start building your theoretical background and foundation.
Absolutely, yeah. And honestly, I don't think it has ever really helped me directly having that
Hmm.
certificate on my resume throughout my career. But it didn't matter because what it really did was it helped me gain that confidence that you know your subject matter, even when you go to interviews or even when you're doing your actual work, automatically
Right.
you have a certain level of knowledge that a lot of other people may not have. So I believe in those. I think they help you a lot. Uh, yeah.
Okay, got it. So call it luck or just your foresight that you transitioned into the computer science background when it started to explode and get a lot of demand in the US. So, do you want to throw some light on how the scenario was in the US during 2005 to 2015 when all these changes, the coming of cloud, a lot of social media. So, tech was really booming. So, how was it?
Right. Yeah. So actually, I got into this field back in 1998. So it was even
Okay.
before all the social media and all that came into picture. But back then, it was all about Y2K issues were pretty big. But
Okay.
also, technology itself was just taking off like
Hmm.
never before. So I asked around what areas are good to explore. And then I found out that Oracle sounded like a good growing area at the time. Just asking around people who were already in the field,
Hmm.
who I knew, and doing my own research, I found which area to get into. And then I also started understanding that this field has a lot more growth to go through. It's just
Hmm.
getting started. And I was
Right.
lucky enough to transition at the right time, I
Yeah,
guess.
and I think it would have been quite difficult for you as well because 15 years back, we did not have Udemy, we did not have YouTube. So,
Yeah.
investing your time in a proper training requires a bigger commitment. Right now, what I can do is I can just spend a week trying to get myself familiar with a subject over YouTube or Udemy and then decide if I actually like it or if I am actually good at it or not.
Right.
So
Yeah,
that's great.
definitely. I think there's just a whole lot more material available, easily available, freely available than
Hmm.
it was back then. But honestly, I think one thing which has not changed, and I don't think it will ever change, is it doesn't matter what's available. It matters what you want to make yourself available to. Like you have to make yourself
Yes.
available to learn that knowledge. Knowledge is out there, but if you don't put in your own efforts, it will be nothing for you. So back then also, like I was trying putting my own time and effort to learn, and which is same even today. For somebody like you who is relatively new, starting out, I'm sure you already have realized that you have to put in your time and effort. So those things, some things don't change, as they say. So those are the important things we have to always remember.
By your answer, I remembered one quote by Naval Ravikant. He says that in today's age, knowledge is a lot. It's the scarcity to learn which is there. Okay. So you said that you are primarily involved in Oracle database and Oracle Cloud. In India right now, we have been more on AWS side of things, and GCP and Azure are still trying to catch up, but AWS is the primary cloud platform over here. So, can
Right.
you tell us a little bit about Oracle Cloud? How is it different from others? What are its offerings?
Sure. Oracle is, I think it's like number three or four biggest software company in the world. They are number one
Right.
in the database world. Their ERP system is like number two, maybe. So they have all these products that have been around for 30 plus years now. And so that company has been around. They have really solid and very useful products for big enterprises. Now,
Hmm.
when it comes to cloud, AWS is no doubt, it's the number one. But Oracle's products, they work very well in Oracle Cloud. So
Okay.
primarily, I would say customers who are already using Oracle, they will see the most benefit by moving to Oracle Cloud, any
Okay.
of their products which they're already running on-prem, for example. Now, because it's on their own database and their cloud, they have been able to make things very, like they control the database very efficiently in the cloud.
Hmm.
Plus, their
Okay.
performance in the cloud is just phenomenal. I mean, it's really nothing like what we have seen before. So, some of those things they are able to do very well because of now they have more control on how people run their database.
Right.
So, so I think if you work with customers who are using Oracle products, then you will hear more about it. AWS is more general, more widespread. Everybody can use and they do use. So I think there are some differences like that. We focus on moving customers from on-prem, like their Oracle systems, database,
Okay.
ERP, and whatever other products they have. Like Oracle has hundreds of products. So when they are ready to move to cloud, generally, in a lot of cases, they try to move to Oracle Cloud. So
Mhm.
we help them with that migration. But in
Okay.
some cases, we also have helped them with migrating to AWS. Some
Okay.
people prefer AWS for a variety of other reasons because a lot of companies are already using AWS for other things.
Mm.
They don't want to
Right.
introduce a new cloud and all that. So yeah,
Right. And I think right now in the market, every cloud platform is trying to create a USP for themselves, right? Oracle has been since a lot of years, Oracle has been the database, right? Many Fortune 500 companies are also using Oracle databases, even though they might have their servers and other things on AWS or GCP. So that's
right.
great. But GCP is coming up with more and more AI/ML. So that's the audience that they are trying to cater to. Each cloud platform is trying to create a USP for themselves.
All
Okay.
right. Yeah.
And I remember while I was on the call to convince you to join us on this conversation, you had shared a very interesting insight about what you think the cloud is. So you told me about that there's two types of things that a person could mean when they talk about cloud. I would like that insight to be a part of this episode. Can you repeat it and explain it more so that everyone can understand?
Sure, yeah. So one of the things which I find kind of surprising, to be honest, when people say very casually they're moving to cloud
Hmm.
without, and I don't think a lot of people understand what it means to move to cloud because moving to cloud can be very, there are mainly three areas in cloud, I think. One is like
Okay.
SaaS, software as a service. So for example, Google Mail is just a very generic example. Everything is maintained, controlled by Google. We put
Right.
our data, our emails are on that server, but we don't really have much control. You cannot really do much customization. So those are software as a product. If a company is moving their products to a software as a service model, then more than likely a lot of people in that company will not be able to do much on that because with whatever company's SaaS product you are going to, they will be able to control all that. So you have to
Right.
kind of realize that and recognize that. And a lot of people don't think about it when they casually say they're moving to cloud. Second is, and then there are two more areas. One is PaaS, like platform as a service, and infrastructure as a service, IaaS. Those are the areas where we, as a company, and my own area is more focused on that. We help customers when they want to, so in Oracle ERP is one of the example. Oracle e-business suite is what they call it. A lot of
Okay.
times they have been running it for many years on premise. Now they are
Hmm.
like, okay, we are done. We want to move everything to cloud. So at that point, they have two choices. One is they can move to Oracle's SaaS product. They call it Oracle ERP Cloud, or
Okay.
they can move it to infrastructure as a service model. So if they go to SaaS, we don't have a whole lot of things to do. Like we cannot contribute as a consulting company for those
Okay.
kind of projects. There are other companies who do that. But then when it comes to infrastructure as a service, they move everything to Oracle's IaaS model. They can also move to less. They also offer
Hmm.
similar services. In
Right.
that, you have people like DevOps people or system administrator, database administrator, developer. All of those people can and will have a role to play.
Okay.
As SaaS products, you may not have much to do. Basically, you are giving it out to somebody else to manage all that. So
To
you
manage
don't
all
have
that.
any much control after. So you have to
Right.
recognize that and specify, like especially if you are the part of the leadership team trying to
Hmm.
make that decision, you first have to understand, what we are doing. When you say we are moving everything to cloud, it's not as simple as that. Every product, everything has its own requirements. You cannot
Right.
just say move to cloud and be done with it.
Right. And I think if people try to understand this logic, then they'll be better because let's say if there's a company, if there's a team which is trying to move to the cloud, and if they don't understand these intricacies, then they might not be able to get the right person to do that job for them.
Absolutely. And that's what we see a lot of time. We get calls, I get calls from people, they're like, hey, we are thinking about moving to cloud. Can you help
Hmm.
us? And I have to start asking questions and then
Hmm.
say, oh, SaaS, you're thinking about going to Oracle ERP cloud. You need to talk to somebody else. That's not our area of expertise. And then
Right.
they are like, oh, I didn't even think about all that. So, so you
Yes.
have to kind of educate even today, which I find surprising because I feel like cloud has been around for 10 plus years now. It's becoming mature already, but still, there are a lot of people who are not fully understanding it still.